A family, with mind-controlling, psychokinetic, and fire combustion abilities are on the run from their creator, who seeks to turn them into lab rats and military weapons. They run from place to place trying to blend in with people, and the current civilization advancement. Spoilers alert, watch out, stay tuned, and get marveled at the story of a frightened child, with the ability to cause a nuclear bomb just by thought, forgives the killer of her mother despite her pains. The movie opens up with Andy having a dream of a happy family. In his dream, his baby burns up her toys and suddenly gets on fire in his arms. He wakes up, walks to the parlor in the dark, and finds his daughter, who happened to have had a bad dream as well, playing with a lighter. Charlie tells the dad that something feels weird and has been noticing some changes. Andy advises her to use a therapy trick to stay calm herself down anytime she gets nervous. Andy has hypnotizing abilities that switch up when he snaps his neck and looks into someone's eye. He uses his ability to run a therapy business. Charlie has fire combustion ability. She creates fire from thin air when nervous. Despite her overwhelming ability, she still manages to stay calm from school bullies. Everyone in school thinks she's a weirdo apart from her teacher Miss Gardner. Miss Gardner is nice to Charlie. Back home, Charlie is angry because she isn't allowed to use Wi-Fi or live like any other normal girl her age. Vicky, her mom, comforts her and tells her she is very special. Charlie asks her mom if she's scared of her abilities, to which she refuses. Andy and Vicky have been trying to stay off the radio. The move from place to place without using Wi-Fi, credit cards, or electric cars. Vicky thinks they should stop running and train Charlie, who can defend them. Andy, who has been having internal brain bleeding from using his powers, disagrees with Vicky's proposition. Things get more frustrated for nervous Charlie on school grounds, when she is hit with a ball during sports, runs to the bathroom, and blows it up, almost burning Miss Gardner, who came to check up on her. Andy and Vicky are invited to school following the incident. The principal informs the police. Realizing the people they have been running from are coming for them, the family of three decides to run off the following day. Andy is not as calm and patient when talking to Charlie as Vicky. In the midst of an argument between the couple, Charlie gets to know the real reason why they have been running from one place to another and can't use Wi-Fi. It turns out they have been running away from their creators, who want to cage them and carry out more research on their abilities and subsequently use them as weapons of mass destruction. While pouring out her frustration, Charlie, intending to burn her dad, ends up burning her mom's arms. Vicky is in so much pain. Trying to comfort her daughter, asks Andy to take her to the movies and for ice cream. Rainbird, a discreet assassin, who now walks as a cleaner, is assigned to capture Charlie alive. Rainbird gets to Andy's house and meets Vicky alone. Vicky hasn't been using her powers in a long while and is out of practice. He easily defeats her and stalks her body in the cupboard. Before dying, Vicky tells Rainbird how special Charlie is and how he will switch sides once he sees her. Charlie and Andy come back home to a dead Vicky. Andy uses his powers but outsmarts easily by Rainbird, who takes Charlie hostage. Vicky, seeing her mother's death, sets the house aflame. The father and daughter manage to get away from Rainbird. The next day, Captain McConnell visits the scientist Dr. Wanless, who invented the special abilities serum for him to come back to work. After hearing Charlie's abilities, Wanless, knowing the government is trying to exploit the little girl, rejects the offer and requests Charlie to be eliminated. Captain McConnell is the head of the research center who is after Charlie. In the next scene, Charlie accidentally kills a cat. Andy teaches her mercy killing and prays for the cat and Vicky's soul to be in heaven. They ditch their car and ask for help from Mr. Cooper to take them to Boston. Mr. Cooper invites them for a night's rest. Charlie meets Mr. Cooper's handicapped wife and they communicate without using words. Andy wakes up the next morning just to realize the government had framed him for killing his wife and kidnapping his daughter. Mr. Cooper, who heard the news earlier, calls the police. He is very angry and disappointed with Andy at this point. Charlie tells him the true reason why his wife is handicapped and informs him she has forgiven him already. cop tries to make amends, by convincing the cops he earlier called them in, because he was drunk and there is no call for alarm. Before he finishes talking, Rainbird, who was hiding in the nearby bush, snips and kills all the police officers. He equally shoots Cooper in the leg. Andy steps out of the house, asks Charlie to run away, and makes Rainbird hallucinate about pursuing after her. Charlie successfully runs into the forest. McConnell's men arrive at the scene and, both, Rainbird and Andy are taken into custody. McConnell men are immune to Andy hypnosis because of the eye-protecting lenses. Andy and Rainbird are taken to the research facility. Rainbird assures the captain that the bond shared between Charlie and Andy will make her come to look for her father. Andy is tortured. In the meantime, Charlie sharpens her abilities in the forest. She has her father's hypnosis ability and the combustion ability. She finds her way into a small town, hypnotizes 3 boys to give her food, their bike, and point her in the direction of the seashore where she hears her father's voice calling out for help. She arrives late at night at the research facility and burns up an agent who doesn't collaborate with her. She equally turns out the camera system of the facility and traces her dad, tied down to a chair in a restricted room. Captain McConnell tries to brainwash Charlie, standing behind the chair her dad is tied down to. Andy hypnotizes her to burn him and the captain down, including everyone in the building. Charlie aggressively burns down everyone as she finds her way out of the facility. She faces a group of men dressed up in fire-repellent outfits. They exhaust her and she reaches her last stamina. Just as the men are about to get hold of her, Rainbird surprisingly kills all of them. He drops down in front of Charlie with his hands behind his back, seeking condemnation from Charlie. Charlie starts heating the flame around him before stopping, indicating she has forgiven him. The movie closes up with an exhaust Charlie being lifted by Rainbird and taken to safety. Do subscribe, comment, like and share for more content as such. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share and turn on the notification button for more content as such.